Next, we're going to go on to Curt Wiebelhaus for the MASD Buildings and Grounds update.
All right. Well, this presentation was one of my most favorite presentations to prepare for the board. Really, rather than looking at what's next, which we're always have a tendency to look what's coming up in the future, took an opportunity just to look back, look at the last 4 years. Can learn a lot by looking back and help guide the future. So what I put together was a 4-year reflection going back to 2012 of what type of accomplishments the Buildings and Grounds Department has made. Going through this process, I really appreciated, gained more of an appreciation for our department and for the guys in our department that made this happen. My goal was to make a one-page summary. There's way more information on here than I'm going to be able to go into detail on, so I'm going to kind of hit the highlights as I'm going through it. If you have questions, you want me to dig in deeper, I would love to. This is stuff that excites me. I learn more and more about myself after going through this process, that eliminating waste is one of the big drivers for me personally. So, so I'm going to start with the first item on here, and on the left-hand side of this page is more tangible items that you can wrap your arms around as far as this change made this dollar cost savings or reduction in cost. The items on the right-hand side of this page are a little more intangible. They certainly had an effect and improvement on the district, but not so much you can measure it, okay? The first item that I'm going to talk about is paradigm shift from head custodians to building managers. I use that phrase to capture the concept and capture really what this change has done, allowed all these other things on this page to happen. 2012, we changed the title of head custodians to building managers. Title change by itself doesn't do anything, but it's the concept that was behind that. Head custodians, you might think of, that's the head person of the cleaning crew. Building managers, in my mind, is the head person of that building from the facility aspect. So we really embraced and brought our head custodians, transitioned to building managers, along with that title change, was changing how they thought about the things that they did. That's their building. When you talk to facilities, on the facility side, that's their building. Whatever happens in that building is their responsibility. They have to find the solutions. I'm here to support them, but it's really them. So I couldn't be more proud of our building managers as far as the progress that they have made. It doesn't just stop at the building managers. You know, each building has a building manager. We have maintenance crew. They adopted that same type of attitude, and we embraced that and helped them along. About a month and a half ago, I had something that happened that one of those moments of like, wow, these guys are really making the strides. One of our grounds manager, who's newer to that position, I set a goal with him and myself that I said, let's do a leadership book study together. A month and a half ago, we were getting ready to start it. And I said, you know what, as long as we're doing a study, let me just throw it out to the rest of the group. You know, who wants to read a 200-page book? And we meet weekly and talk about it for 15 minutes. Thinking, well, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 extra people. I was blown away. All but one of our building managers said, yeah, I'm in. I'll read that book on my own time, and I will have that discussion. So we're going through the 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, a book that's targeted for corporate America to improve profits and to improve customer service. But all those things that they teach in that book are so applicable to what our guys do. And so they are all wanting to be better leaders. And not only building managers, some of the maintenance guys jumped on board as well. A grounds person jumped on board as well. So totally voluntary, but it kind of gives you the idea of how, when I say paradigm shift, how their thought process has changed over the years. So I'm very proud of those guys, and like I said, these next things that we're talking about wouldn't happen without that paradigm shift. Okay, first item on here, Buildings and Grounds Department staffing cost. Okay, how I set this up was I took a comparison of a baseline year of 2010 and 11 and compared it to, if you see a double asterisk right there, okay, that is a comparison to 2014 and 15, the difference between 2014-15 compared to 2010 and 11, okay? If you see the single asterisk right here, that's the cumulative from 2011-12 through 2014-15, okay? So Buildings and Grounds Department staffing cost. We have in-house labor that we have on payroll, and we have contract cost, okay? If I take that cost 2014 and 15 and compared it against 2010 and 11, we spent $228,000 less last year, okay? Cumulatively, we spent over $1 million less on staffing costs since 2010-11, okay? That number is big enough right there, and that blows me away. When I was putting this together, I had to quadruple check the numbers to make sure that I'm accurate with it, and they're accurate. It's a big number when you think about it, but what's even more unbelievable is that number right there in 2014 and 15, when I take what my staffing was, I have 2 new positions in 14-15 that I didn't have in 10 and 11, and so if I added those 2 positions represent $195,000. So if those positions would not have been added, it would have been closer to $420,000 in savings. And as we get down the rest of this list, you'll see those positions also had some large impacts to have greater savings. But so there's been a number of things that help us reduce those costs that has been huge, you know, from Act 10 to just better matching our skills up with what the job duties that the guys are doing. This was a time in 2012, if you remember the headlines in some of the papers where New Berlin was going to contract only staff for custodial. That was a fear that I had. I didn't want to go that direction. So we found ways to reduce cost and not ever be in a position that we want to try reducing it through contract labor. There's challenges that go along with that. Okay, service contract spending. This compared to 2010-11 to 14-15, $330,000 less in service contracts. That's a huge number. How do we do this? How do we reduce to down 329,000? A lot of it is we empowered our own people. Okay, our guys have skills. They just need to be coached a little bit and given the opportunity to use those skills. HVAC, window cleaning, stuff that we traditionally in the past hired out, we do them in-house now. Custodial contract services, we're down to having 1 full-time and 1 part-time contract custodial person. Otherwise, everything else is in-house, under our training, under our leadership. Fire extinguisher alarm testing, just negotiating contracts in a more efficient way based on what our real needs are. So cumulatively, $745,000 in service contract spending reduction. Energy cost avoidance. Just got an email today that we have our 8th building receive the Energy Star certification. Okay, Energy Star certification is something we did in 2008. It's a nationwide recognition. If you get a refrigerator and it's an energy efficient one, you have an Energy Star sticker. Same type of thing for buildings. 8 of our buildings have a score of 75 or higher, which is what you need to qualify for that. That's an indication that our buildings are 75% more energy efficient than the rest of the nation's educational buildings. So huge thing for us, huge recognition, great for the public to see that we are doing good things. So there'll be more, we'll have a press release out now. I mean, that's just happened. Like I said, I got that email today. We've been working on it up to this point, but I got the email today that our 8th building has received that designation. Energy program, we had a strong energy program since 2003. Over $4 million has been avoided in cost as far as energy. So in 2003, if we continued to use energy like we did back in '03, we would have spent $4 million more over those years. I wanted to take, though, just to see what the last 4 years were. I wanted to see how are we doing in the last 4 years. So I took 2010 and 11 as a baseline, and we have $65,000 in additional cost avoidance since then. So doing an excellent job with energy. Snow removal. This one was a risky one as we strategized and started talking about bringing snow removal in-house. We are a mix right now. I think we have a good mix as far as some contract, some in-house. That was getting the right people in the right spots to manage this. So we're in our third year right now. Last year, just about $44,000 in savings. So between the 2 years that we've done it so far, we've had $66,000 in savings. This year, I expect it's been a milder winter. So the way I calculate this is I took historical costs per snowfall based on the type of snowfall. I have every single snowfall since 2012 is on a spreadsheet to calculate this accurately. And that was one thing that helped me make the decision as far as what is the right thing to do. I mean, I was blown away to realize that 70% of our snow plowing costs isn't snow plowing, it's putting salt down. Knowing that information helped us save money. 2012-13 capital improvement project management. If you recall, in 2009 was our first year of the 5-year capital improvement projects. We hired those first 3 years out to a construction manager, and then the remaining 2 years we did in-house. Okay. Coincidentally, in 2009, I was the person that you hired. I worked for VJS at that time, so I know these numbers quite well. As I put them together back at that time when I was on the other side of the table, when I was working for you guys as a construction manager. But when I came on board in 2012, then we did it in-house, and really our building managers at the schools acted as the field superintendent that a construction manager would have. So we didn't have the fee from the construction manager. We didn't have the general conditions that field supervision cost. We didn't have that. So when I compared what it would have been to what we actually spent, it was a savings of $190,000. Fitness center project renovation. This was a 2013 project that we did. Using the cost per square foot that C.G. Schmidt put together on our projects right now as far as renovating a space, I applied those to our fitness center as if that was being done by a construction manager, that's the cost per square foot, plus or minus. Compare that to the actual cost we spent, it was $275,000 difference. Again, using our own people to manage the project in-house as far as from the site side, and then doing our own project management, eliminating fees. Negotiated contract bond savings for referendum. This is a forecasted savings. Obviously, this is very dependent on the referendum going through. But as far as negotiating contract with experience with construction management, you always you know those contracts in and out. One of the pieces that I was able to quantify with the negotiations was to eliminate the bond on the material portion of a project. There's a little exemption that Wisconsin law has that says you do not need to have a performance bond on material portions. So on a $49.5 million project, if that goes through, about $22 million of that's going to be materials. 1% of that ends up being a pretty good chunk of money. District surplus asset sales costs. This is one that I learned of early, in the first year I was there. I kind of chuckled at it a little bit. Got feedback from the guys, and that's a key thing going through all this. It was the feedback that the guys would provide. We would spend on doing a rummage sale. So historically, we would do a rummage sale, collect all the stuff from each of the schools, put it into the west parking lot, and then host the rummage sale, have labor there, people there, and sell stuff and collect the money. So we had $5,250 in costs. So I asked John Haddon, our head maintenance guy, keep track of all the hours you spend collecting everything. Keep track of the hours you spent manning the rummage sale during the event, and let me know what those hours are. I applied a mileage rate for all the traveling back and forth. So a little over $5,000 in cost. We would collect $2,000 at the rummage sale. Very inefficient, didn't make sense. So in essence, every year we're doing a rummage sale, we're losing money. Since then, the next year, we started going online. Wisconsin Surplus Auction has been a fantastic site and service for us. It's very low overhead. We take pictures, we put a description, upload it, and bidders bid on the stuff, so you get the best dollar that the market will bear. If we would have continued losing money over the years and compared that against the money that we made over those years, that's a $55,000 difference. Operational budget, I had a slight decrease in the budget, so I put that in there just to show that we didn't increase budget to make this stuff happen. We actually had a small reduction of 4% since 2011-12. And the last one, which is a very important item on here, is every year we will put out a survey to our staff to get an indication how are we doing as a buildings and grounds department. Since 2012, to last year, there was an average increase of 6% across the 3 areas that we surveyed. So point on this is we've been able to save money and also improve scores for our survey. So like I said, the group that we have, fantastic group, and they've really been a big part of making this happen. So is there any questions, anything on there that you want me to go into more detail on? All right.
Thank you, Curt.
Thanks, Curt.
Thanks, Curt.